Hi, and welcome everyone to our Acumatica 2020 R2 launch live webinar. My name is Justine Crowley. I'm the Customer Success Manager here at Cloud9 ERP Solutions. We have Dan Vanacore, our VP of Sales, Greg Mercedes, our CEO. Let's show the people what they've been waiting for.
Great. Thank you, Justine. Great introduction and great kickoff to today. Again, as Justine said, I am Dan Vanacore with Cloud9 ERP Solutions, and I wanted to personally welcome you to the Cloud9 ERP Solutions 2020 R2 launch. We are so excited that you're here. We're excited that you took time out of your day to join us. We certainly are living in exciting and challenging times where really digital transformation has kind of just happened overnight, where working in the cloud has become really more a necessity versus a nice to have. So again, we welcome you. We're glad you're here. We encourage you to ask questions. You'll notice that there's a chat section. Please don't hesitate to the end. If you have questions, please add them in. We're glad to answer them as they come along. So without further ado, we are so excited about the 2020 R2 launch. We're going to launch into a couple of demos right in the beginning because we're excited about it and we want you to be excited about it as well. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Greg and Justine for a couple kickoff demos for 2020 R2.
Thanks, Dan. So let's get started. Let me share my screen here and we'll get started with something that's really, fun, I think, in the software, and that's how we display data. So, one of the big things that we have, one of the keys to Acumatica, and many of you may be seeing Acumatica for the first time. So to that, I say, reach out to us so you can get a more complete overview. But one of the nice things about Acumatica is how we display data. And Acumatica has a feature called generic inquiries. And for those of you that have been using Acumatica for many years, you'll notice that, that's been an area that has evolved. Acumatica has made it better and better. And it's truly one of the most advanced features in Acumatica for displaying information the way you want to. So, for example, I have on my screen here sales orders. So, very simple thing. I should be able to list my sales orders, but being web-based, being able to move columns around, all of these things are amazing ease of use features. It's why it's one of the reasons Acumatica has a best-in-class customer usability, and it continues to win that every year. So again, what we see here is sales orders, but whether it's a purchase order list, whether it's a list of customers, whether it's journal transactions, throughout the software we have this concept of generic inquiries. And it gives not only persons in the company the ability to organize information for end users, but it also gives end users the ability to organize information the way they want to. So new to 2020 R2 is the ability to, when we customize them, so edit generic inquiry, and again, some of you, this is fairly new to being to see this. But this particular list of sales orders is governed by a generic inquiry screen, which allows us to pick tables. It allows us to pick fields that we want to include in those tables. All those fields you saw there were all fields that were put into this generic inquiry. Now, of course, sales orders is out of the box, but your ability to change it is however your imagination takes you. So you could see some features here. For example, these are the columns that I'd like to show. Do I want to make that visible? Do I want to change the style? Do I want to change the name of it? Do I want to navigate? So generic inquiries allow us to navigate to other screens. So of course you'd navigate to the sales order, that makes sense, but you can navigate to your customer, or you can navigate to maybe an item page or something along those lines. So again, new to 2020 R2 is a couple of things. So the first one is I have the ability to maybe add a related table. Now, of course, I would do that anyway. I would hit the plus button, add a table. But in 2020 R2, when I click on this button, it gives me the ability to say, okay, for my customer, show me the related tables. And Acumatica gives you a list of all the related tables. In the past, what you'd have to do, if you knew the database tables very well, no problem, you could do it easily. But if you didn't, you'd really have to guess to see, well, what tables can I find other data out of? So for example, if we go to sales order, notice this is a list of the tables that are part of this generic inquiry. If I select that, Acumatica gives us an additional or a different set of suggestion tables that maybe I want to take a look at. So for example, maybe I want additional information about the salesperson, or maybe I want additional information about maybe the location of that sales order, the location of the customer, location table, or the carrier, meaning, you know, some information specific to, we're using Federal Express, we want to see some fields there, or the terms. So from this, what you can do is select it. So we click on select, and not only does Acumatica easily add the table, it also does the relationship for us. So in database terms, we call this the join. So we just added the terms table to it. And if we go to relationships, we can see Acumatica added the join for us. So it linked it all together. So it made sense. And now if we go to our results grid, and let's say we want to add a column from the terms table, we can now see it here, terms, and now we can see all the fields that are related to the terms table. So there's quite a few here, and we can add whatever we're looking for. For example, maybe the description of the terms. Maybe the code is not enough for us in this example. Now that's one thing. So that's a really, really cool feature that is now going to allow you to really expand your imagination with generic inquiries. But one of the other things Acumatica has done is, and over the last few versions, Acumatica has added a concept called side panels. So side panels are really cool. You can, while you're looking at a list of sales orders, you can see a list, an additional, or a profile in this case, of the customer, the order that you're selecting. So right now there's Greg Mercedes. If I select this particular order, I can see USA bartending. So whatever the particular side panel information I want to see is great. I can see that. I can add that to my generic inquiry. So you can have as many different profile screens you want here. So that's good. But that leads me into another feature which helps you build generic inquiries easier. So we have the ability from a screen like this, a profile screen, to add side panels to the side of, so you can get a listing of what's showing up based on this profile. So Acumatica took it a step further and they added it as a default feature to generic inquiries. So wouldn't it be nice, as we're building our generic inquiry, if we can see what we've added? So as we're working on this, as we're adding things, changing the sort, adding some columns, maybe putting some filters together, all of that stuff, wouldn't it be nice if we can see it on the fly? So when I save this, because I added the terms description, you'll now see on the right-hand side, it continues to build out the generic inquiry as and when we're making these changes. So really, really cool stuff. Generic inquiries. If you're not playing with generic inquiries, I invite you to start playing with generic inquiries because they're really, really cool. They do a lot of things, not just for your ability to reflect information to end users, but for end users to be able to see information, to give them enough of a leash to be able to go through their workflows, go through their day, analyze data, navigate through the system. Really, really cool stuff. Okay, so that's generic inquiries. Justine?
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Let me share my screen here. And let me know if you see my dashboard.
Looks good.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So what I'm going to show you next is our recently viewed records. This is a very simple yet quite powerful feature that Acumatica has added in Acumatica 2020 R2. You'll see this shiny new button right here to the right of your search bar. And when I click this button, you'll notice Acumatica's thinking. So Acumatica remembers the last 500 transactions that have been accessed. Much better memory than my own. You can click on any of the record types on the left side. They'll keep them nice and organized for you. You don't have to create these yourself. And you'll notice all of the records that are in front of me. So these are the last transactions that have been completed. And you'll notice once I click the favorites button, it will show on the right side. So now anytime I'm working on something, but I'm not quite finished with it, it hasn't quite been completed, but I don't want to forget about it, I can add it to my favorites. And next time I click this recently viewed records, it will show up right where I need it to. So rather than making a note or a task reminder, you can simply mark it as a favorite and come back to it when you're ready. This is great for bookmarking a specific invoice, or you'll see here an AP bill. And that way it stays at the top of your mind and it's quite easy to access. So very simple, but very powerful.
That's a great feature.
So thank you.
And if anybody who's seen our video, we actually did a video early on this, and it's actually evolved since we did the video. The ability to filter by record types has been added. So that's really, really cool that Acumatica. You'll notice Acumatica builds on the platform. Again, that usability, that you'll see that. It's not just about adding features for the purpose of maybe landing some deals. You'll see a lot of software companies, they have a big deal on the hook, and they'll just add a feature, and nobody ever uses it, but that's part of their their release notes. So Acumatica continues to enhance the platform, which I think is a really, really big differentiator between other software programs out there.
For sure. Well, I hope you enjoyed this very simple and powerful feature. All right, Dan, so it's over to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And
Great.
We're going to kick it off with the agenda and let you know what else is coming, everyone. Thanks, Dan.
Okay. Well, thank you both, Justine and Greg. Great presentations today. So as we started off, we wanted to give you just a quick sneak peek of some highlights for the 2020 presentations and the demos. We're going to also talk about today the Cloud9 ERP Solutions company overview. And we're going to continue on towards the end of the presentation with some more live demos. So we've got some more in store for you to get you really excited about the new release. And again, as we mentioned, please don't forget to put in your questions as they come about. We'd love to answer them as they get presented. So as we mentioned, a big release for Acumatica 2020 R2. We wanted to just show you just some highlights. I certainly won't go through each one of these line by line, but you can see at a high level some new additions and enhancements in terms of usability, financials and payroll, technology, commerce and distribution, manufacturing, and also within the construction and field service. So you can see across the board that Acumatica continues to develop and enhance the product across all its different product lines and additions. And again, this is the hallmark of Acumatica. Because of the way we go about and approach it in the marketplace, it's a big differentiator in terms of how much time, budget, and effort we can put into enhancements and give you these releases twice a year. A little bit about Cloud9 ERP Solutions. We have ERP experience that dates back to 1988. As was introduced earlier with Greg Mercedes, the CEO, he founded the company in 2013. We are a gold certified and award-winning Acumatica partner. So what that means briefly is that we focus completely on Acumatica. We devote all our learning, our certification, and attention on Acumatica to ultimately give our customers the best experience they can have with the product. We have offices across the US. We're headquartered in Stamford, Connecticut, offices in Atlanta, Boston, and also in Bangalore for our development and customization efforts. Acumatica, essentially, one can say, was built for the future needs of its customers with a connected business platform, open API architecture, the ability for remote and distributed collaboration, really connecting your customers, vendors, and suppliers, and ultimately providing a future-proof solution that you can build your business on for years to come. And also the business model for Acumatica was to develop a future-proof platform and to provide best-in-class business functionality and to create a company where you can come to depend on ethical business practices. Let's talk a little bit about differentiators. As many of you go through evaluations and you look at different software packages and platforms, the one thing you really want to focus on, where are the differentiators? What makes Acumatica stand out? Well, one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is access from anywhere on any type of device with natural language. So again, focusing on a distributed workforce and remote capability today, we really do make sure that customers can rely on using Acumatica from a desktop, a laptop, iPhone or Android device, and it's the same look and feel across all of that. So as we live in these different and challenging times, Acumatica, again, built for a workforce that is not in an office anymore. Workers are everywhere and in a virtual capacity, and Acumatica makes it easier for customers to do work remotely no matter where they are. Flexible deployment options. Acumatica makes it available either in a public cloud as well as private cloud using Amazon Web Services with modern built-in security to make sure that your data is secure with server-side logic, detailed access controls, and authentication. So it is a modern technology-built software that can provide all the benefits that you need from protection and security across all the different types of deployment options that we offer. So you can depend on Acumatica to give you the best security out there in the marketplace. And another big differentiator for Acumatica is our modern consumption-based pricing. We don't have a user-based model. You can have as many users as you'd like on the system. So what does that mean? You can have complete participation within your business. Everybody from warehouse clerk to AP manager or an executive looking at a dashboard across business items and different formations. You can have a complete visibility across all those different functions. And it also extends out to not only employees, but to key customers, partners, vendors, and suppliers, where they can have access to your Acumatica system to do certain lookups and to search different types of information. So this is a big differentiator for Acumatica against our competitors and so forth. And it allows for a simple, easy view with your employees to be able to view different items and different situations across the business. And as many of you have probably seen before in some of the information available, Acumatica started out initially with a core set of products such as financials, project management, inventory management, and a number of other basic core modules in terms of giving you the base information that you would need to run your business. But over time, over the last couple of years, Acumatica realized that there were specific industry focuses that needed attention. So they developed a set of additions that focus on specific industries, such as field services, which really focuses on remote type workers that need to be out in the field to do maintenance and service. Commerce Edition that focuses on retailers, whether they're brick and mortar or they have an online commerce site. Construction Edition, a big push for Acumatica to focus on this whole burgeoning industry that needs better ERP and systems to manage their business. Distribution for wholesale distribution companies. And then of course, manufacturing to manage everything from the shop floor to shipping to delivery, focused on a manufacturing product that really gives manufacturers an edge on competing with other solutions out in the marketplace. So a complete set of industry additions to help run your business much more effectively. Acumatica certainly focuses on an open architecture and API with rapid integration. So you can see here that there are many different applications and software that Acumatica can connect to, giving you the flexibility to build your business, to connect with other systems that make sense, to operate your business more effectively. And Acumatica continues to evaluate different systems and solutions out there that make the most sense to connect to.
All right, Greg, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Okay. Okay, so one of the things that Acumatica has really, again, part of the platform is it's tried to make a flexible workflow, meaning, your workflow might be different than somebody else using Acumatica. So specific to that, we talk about sales orders and sales order workflows. One of the things that, is always a challenge is, where and when do I, put the brakes on, for example, an order? How do I go through the workflow, but also how do I maybe change our options based on different conditions? So for example, and you're seeing, again, if you've seen Acumatica before, you're seeing a lot of different things, such as these big buttons here that were normally under the actions menu. But one of the things that that Acumatica has changed is the ability to hold sales orders if we're expecting a payment. We need a deposit on that order. So, right now you see this is a status of a order that's on credit hold. That's because I guess I'm not too credit worthy and my customer credit limit is exceeded. That's a preference in Acumatica. I happen to have the rights to release my own order, so I'll do that. But you notice the status here was on credit hold, and it will go to open as soon as I, release this from credit hold. Now, one of the cool things that Acumatica has added is a new feature under payment terms. So if we open up, and this is our global search, we'll open up our credit terms area, and we go into, for example, net 30. One of the things we can see here is this visible. Now, this is not new. We have the ability to make this credit term visible to customers or vendors. We could share it across different entities, which is nice. You don't have to create net 30 twice. But if I specifically say customers, Acumatica gives me this new feature called order prepayment settings. I can check this off and decide what percentage do I require of this order to be paid before I can let it go, okay? So now I've already done that, by the way. I have a prepayment here of 100%. So we'll go to that so we can see what it looks like. Again, prepayment required, yes. Prepayment percentage, in this case, I'm requiring 100%, okay? Now, if I go to the sales orders, and I have this sales order that came in, under my financial settings, my payment terms are 30 days, okay? This happens to be an e-commerce order, but that's fine. If I select my prepayment 100, and before I do that, notice the buttons I have now. I took it off credit hold, so the status is now open. I now have options for quick process, which is, we have a video on that on YouTube if you want to take a look at that. But I also have the option for create shipment, which is also under the actions, create shipment. You could find it there. If I change this term to prepayment 100%, notice the create shipment button goes away. So this is a nice new feature because orders don't just come in from keying in, they come in from different channels. They may get imported, from e-commerce, Acumatica's commerce platform. One of the things we're going to talk about today, we had it on our agenda, but to no small part of your polling, very popular feature is the commerce edition of Acumatica. So you have all these orders coming in, and they're all coming in from different areas. It's important to be able to stop them from flowing into the warehouse if we're requiring deposits to be put on them. So obviously in e-commerce, if it's business to consumer, 100% should go through there. Now, you probably have taken care of that on your e-commerce site. You wouldn't have let an order come in unless it was paid on the e-commerce site. But again, you may have a mix and match. And in certain situations with that payment term, it's nice to be able to stop it. Now, on top of that, from workflow, what we have here is we also have our customization engine has been enhanced to be able to also take out certain buttons, take out reports, maybe you don't want to be able to print the sales order. So that's another discussion, our no code customization series of videos on YouTube. But getting back to this, again, the status now has changed. It's no longer open, it's awaiting payment. This is a new status in Acumatica 2020 R2. So that's great. So now if I'm looking at all my sales orders, and I'll do that now, open up a new tab so I can see it. You can now see the status accordingly. And if you're familiar with generic inquiries, I can have my own little filter bucket here saying awaiting payment. Perfect. Because maybe I'm the person that calls customers and collects payment, right? So awaiting payment would be a great filter to have here so I can see all those orders. But if I go back to the sales order, one of the other new things that we have is our payments. When we take a payment inside a sales order, things have been enhanced. It now looks different. You collected a credit card payment, you saw before a payment setting tab. Well, Acumatica's put everything on one page, which is nice, ease of use. We used to have to train people in different areas of the software to do this. But if we click Create Payment, we have a much simpler payment dialog screen that we have here. And it gives us the ability to choose the payment amount. So maybe, for example, I'm paying partial. So maybe it's $350. Maybe I'm paying by credit card. That's fine. If I select credit card, notice you have the capture and authorize here. I'll click capture. And Acumatica will capture the credit card. Notice this panel here on the right. It gives us the ability to show what has been released, what has been authorized, total paid, unpaid balance. So you have a really good window, and these fields are now available if you decide to use the customization engine. You can analyze these fields and decide what's going on with them. But I will make a payment here. Some of you might have heard me counting. That's 4 and 15 ones, by the way, is my credit card. Please don't use it to charge anything. That is a test credit card. Universal test credit card. So now it's going to process the card. And I will get, once that's done, I now have released, I must have kept the payment at $500. I thought I said $350. But now we have a $500 apply to order, which is 100% of what we needed. And notice the create shipment button is now enabled and our status is now open. So again, sales order workflows, we have the ability to prevent our create shipment based on the credit terms, which is under our financial settings. So you can create your credit terms, put the percentage in there that you're looking for. And then on top of that, our payments are now conveniently refined. So we see them in one area. We can see the total amounts that have been paid, unpaid balances, and whatnot. Okay, so that's a new thing, sales order workflows. The next thing I want to talk about is CRM enhancements. So one of the things, and again, this is another highly voted item that we had here, but CRM enhancements is a key one that Acumatica has made a bunch of changes to. Okay. So the first thing we'll do is we'll go into business accounts. So Acumatica has an area called business accounts. The business accounts allow you to see all types of business accounts. Makes sense, right? It's customers, it's vendors, it could be prospects, it's all sorts of things. Notice the different types. You can see them here. You can also, as an end user, you can create filters to show only customers and those kinds of things. So I'll open up a customer. And under contacts, we now have the ability to set a primary contact. So Acumatica, of course, your contacts, you can have unlimited contacts for any business account. But Acumatica gives you the ability to set a primary, and that primary can be used for primary communications in other areas of the software. Okay, so for example, if I go over here and I set this as the primary, and now I go over to my details tab, so under, the general tab, you can see that primary contact here, and the visibility certainly helps you see who's the primary contact when you're working with this business account. Okay, so that's one thing. The next thing we have is the ability, and throughout activities, we have the ability to pin, if I go to my opportunities. So let's say I open up a opportunity. Of course, business accounts give you a bird's eye view of all of your leads that came into this business account, all the opportunities that you're working with on this business account, support cases, contracts, so financial contracts, orders. You can see all the orders that this customer's placed, create little filter buckets to see which ones are open, which ones are completed. Really, really good CRM screen. But if we open up an opportunity here, and we'll take a look at this one, which is in the stage solution for $3,100. I'll maximize it. So all throughout the software, we have an activities tab, right? So the activities tab gives us the ability to see any type of activities for this particular opportunity. Any opportunity activity will roll up to the business account. So this is maybe a follow-up. Okay, note, I can put my notes here and I can save it. So Acumatica will show me any kind of emails that show up here. Really, really great. My ability to work with the customer. Round of golf, maybe. Oh, round of gold is even better than golf. I'm sure everybody would love that. My signature shows up here. How about it? And we can send out emails with attachments and all that stuff. But what Acumatica has added is the ability to pin a specific activity so that you can keep it sorted and placed at the top. So the ability to pin activities is a new feature that you may have hundreds and hundreds of activities, but some of them are important. So we now have this pin and unpin. Okay, and that's throughout opportunities, leads, support cases, and customers. Okay, so that's another thing. Now, if I go back to my business accounts and I look at mail settings, Acumatica has also given us the ability. I'm going to just change our customer here to someone who has a little bit more activities, and that's not this one, but it was worth a try. But mail settings gives you the ability. Actually, I'll view the customer and I'll see more here. Here we go. Settings. So Acumatica gives you the ability by any customer, and even those of you who have used Acumatica for many years may not even be aware of some of this functionality. But it gives you the ability to override the mail settings, meaning the notifications, the email accounts you use to communicate for this area of the software. So you can see, for example, my credit card expires. Okay, that's fine. This is the template we normally use to tell customers of that expiration. That's great, because down below I can say, okay, well, maybe it's Jane Doe who specifically needs that information when a credit card expires. Great. But maybe for this particular customer, in addition to being able to select the recipient of it, maybe for this particular customer, I have a different template. They need a different template. And this is more critical for invoice formats. Maybe they need a specific form or report because that customer is really requiring it. But what we've done is we've added the ability to either add recipients to this. So for example, if I'm emailing out an invoice to this customer, we can add all these recipients to the existing email, or we can override. So this is really key for mailing. If you're doing mailing to customers, you may want to hit just the contacts that are here despite what's sent out, or you may want to add, in addition to what you're sending, you may want to add to the below list. So by default, of course, add recipients is there. That's always been there. But we now have this feature that allows you to override. Okay? So that's some CRM enhancements. So Dan, do you want to wrap up your presentation? And then I have more demos too.
Sure thing, Greg.
Alrighty, Dan, making you the presenter. Great demos as always, Greg.
Thank you, Justine.
I've definitely found it's very helpful to have a primary contact selected, especially as we go through and we talk to our customers or potential prospects. It's always a little bit easier that way. Saves time.
I am just getting my screen back up.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree. You know, primary contacts. You know, you may have, again, Acumatica unlimited contacts. You know, over the years, you're going to add more and more contacts, and you want to make sure that, you know, the primary one is there. And
Yeah.
also the pin activities is nice because again, you may have hundreds and hundreds of activities there, but you want to see the ones that are most important, particularly if somebody else looks at that opportunity or something or support ticket. Now they have that ability to see what's latest and greatest.
Right. That's a great point. All right, Dan, over to you.
Okay, hey, before we start, did we get another question from AJ asking about reporting and analytics?
Yes, we did. Maybe
Okay,
we can squeeze that into our agenda. I think that would be great.
Yeah, we'll do our best to squeeze that in. There are a couple of things that
great.
are new reporting and analytics. Sure.
Awesome.
Okay, awesome. All right, can you see my screen, everybody?
Sure can.
Yes.
Okay, great. So continuing on with Acumatica in terms of what we talked about, having a complete open architecture with rapid integration. So you can see how easy Acumatica does this with different software solutions that are out in the market today to, again, complement your business and make it easy for you to do business with other solutions to maximize your overall solution footprint. And we also have an extension out to what we call independent software vendors that provide different solutions for different activities, depending upon what your needs are, whether they're product solutions or service-centric, BI tools or productivity tools. Acumatica gives a wide choice of being able to give you the opportunity to work with different vendors out there that make the most sense. And again, as I emphasized before, Acumatica is constantly evaluating new and innovative products out there that make most sense for its customers. One of the things we always like to share is what was developed by our CEO, John Roscoe at Acumatica. And this came out late last year in 2019, but the purpose was to give customers expectations of what they have a right to when it comes to working with companies like Acumatica. And he really threw it out there as a gauntlet to the marketplace for other vendors out there that we compete with to show where Acumatica stands when it comes to working with its customers in terms of easy to understand language when it comes to our agreements, a flexible open platform, consumption-based licensing, which gives users the opportunity to not be confined and have everyone in the company have access to Acumatica. ERP implementations with no hidden fees, easy to understand documentation and deployment flexibility. Things that maybe didn't exist 10, 15 years ago, but now that we live in an environment where information is so readily available, Acumatica really wants to make it easy for you to do business with them. And some of you may be interested in following the media analysts and research companies out there that track companies like Acumatica and other vendors out there. This was one that came about from Nucleus Research, where Acumatica was ranked in highest in usability. So you can see there from the 4 quadrants, it is clearly up there in the #1 category as a leader. And we continue to make all kinds of inroads into more functionality, better enhancements, and we get a lot of press and information out there. And a lot of it is available if you research it in terms of these different analysts and how they categorize Acumatica and track it as a leader in the software space. So to kind of wrap up the overview of Acumatica and Cloud9 ERP Solutions, Acumatica, again, the only cloud-based and browser-based ERP solution that really meets the needs of growing small and medium-sized businesses. 100% partner-driven, that allows Acumatica to focus its efforts and attention on development and enhancement of the product, completely development focused. And then for Cloud9 ERP Solutions, as we talked about, an Acumatica Gold certified partner for the time it's been in existence. It's a reseller, we implement and also have a development lab at our disposal. So we're a complete end-to-end provider for you with your Acumatica solution. We've proven ourselves in the marketplace with successful implementations across multiple industries. If we get to the point with you at some juncture, we could certainly put you in touch with a number of these implementations that we've had success with. They're across multiple industries and they continue to do business with us. One of the things that we measure is our retention in terms of customers continuing to sign on with us year in and year out. So that maintains a highly rated customer satisfaction for Cloud9 ERP Solutions. And then kind of continuing on with that, I won't read each one, but these are some of the things that our customers are saying about us across different industries. So, you know, myself, Justine, and Greg, we love to talk about Cloud9 ERP Solutions. We could talk about it all day long, but where the rubber meets the road, to coin a phrase, is what customers are saying about you and how long you have these customers and the kind of partnerships we develop and the communication that we keep ongoing with our customers. We're not about just having you implemented and you know, go our separate ways. We're with you for the long haul. We want to know your business not only today but in the future, and how we can help continuing to work with you to make sure you're getting the best value from Acumatica for years to come.
Okay.
And we'll put this up again at the end, but just our contact information. I appreciate your time, and we hope you got a lot out of it, and we'll turn it back to Greg.
Okay, jumping back in. So again, the sales order screen, right? I'm going to show this because it's a really great example of what I'm about to show. Those of you who know Acumatica know that there's a notification system. So it's a trigger-based notification system that if anything happens with the sales order, any data gets to a certain level, then Acumatica can fire off a notification. But what you might not be aware of, and this is part of 2020 R2, is Acumatica is converting all of that to business events. So many of you have started to use business events. It's something that's been added to Acumatica. I would say about 1.5 years now is in the making. And business events gives you the ability, maybe I'll just show you business events, just the screen. I'll open it up just so you can see some examples, because what we're about to show you is going to actually show a little bit more specific example. But you can see business events are here. This gives us the ability to trigger all sorts of things. So notice on the right, you got record changes. So that's instantaneous, right? That's something happens, done. And that's what we used to think of as notifications, automation notifications in Acumatica. That's record changes. Of course, that area in Acumatica is now in business events. But we also have the ability to do things on schedules. So, you know, once an hour, once a day, once a week, we can go through and analyze data and take an action, okay? So you can see there's a bunch of examples, you know, purchase order waiting approval, project accounting project is activated. Here's a sales opportunity, send a opportunity when a salesperson is assigned. So in other words, send it to the salesperson who got assigned to it. Okay, great. So these are some examples. What's new in Acumatica is instead of seeing notifications up here, you see business events. So Acumatica added it so that when I click on it, it will show me any notifications. All your automation notifications should get migrated to the business events. I say should because there's always could be an issue, but for the most part, you should have no problems. You could see my back order one has been created. I also have an order has gone into credit limit, so the status, but I can create one easily, and maybe this one is going to be prepayment, or I'm sorry, payment required. We'll call it that. So we'll click OK on this. This is again for any sales order. So keep in mind, this is not, we happen to be looking at a sales order, same sales order example I was showing you, but this is to analyze all sales orders technically. So here's our business event screen. Payment required is the name. It's triggered by a record change. We can raise the event for each record, okay? So Acumatica is analyzing our generic inquiry called sales orders. It's the screen name here. And our description is, and this is what's different about business events versus automation notifications, by the way. Business events require a generic inquiry. It looks at the data in that listing of data. It looks at all of that, as opposed to automation notifications were more about the actual screen and what was on the screen. So there wasn't much customization, or there wasn't a lot of flexibility what you could do. If the field didn't exist on the sales order summary screen, you really couldn't analyze it. But of course, with generic inquiries, I can add any field I want from any table I want. So we'll call this payment required. All right. And payment required, or awaiting payment. Awaiting payment, I think, is a better one. And the conditions will be when the new field value is, for the document, basically this thing right here, is the, let's call it status. Status equals, and Acumatica is going to make it easy for you. This is status equals, but you can do all these other things, contains or whatever. But because this is a static field, Acumatica is going to make it easy for you, showing you all the available options. So you got this new awaiting payment that we just talked about a few minutes ago. So we'll save that. And now that's great, Greg, but what are we doing with it? So we add a subscriber. So this is the nice thing about business events. Do I want to email? Do I want to do a mobile pop-up? Or do I want to do a text message? Acumatica supports AWS's SMS notification, and that's Amazon. And then it also supports Twilio. But we're going to choose a email notification. And what that does is it comes up with a template. So this is similar to before, a notification template. So awaiting payment, get on it. All right. The from is whatever the email address is from. So I could define that here, or we can pass it along. The to will just be, I normally would not type a static email address in here. I could choose a field. So notice this shows all of the different fields here. I expand on this, all your sales order, your billing address. So you could pass something custom into this. You probably won't do it, although you might pass it to the salesperson. So you could find the salesperson email address and put that in there if you want to. We have the ability to link this to a contact or an account. So your activity history will show up there, which is really, really nice for CRM purposes. My subject heading could be sales order, and I'll come over here and I'll choose the sales order number. So order number is requiring a payment. And then you could do anything you want over here. So SO is, I won't go too long on this, is requiring a payment. And again, I can come over here, I'll make this a little bit bigger, and I can insert a data field. And again, you get that same thing where you can pick any field you want. This can all be HTML, make it pretty, make it use colors, use tables if you want, and put anything else at the bottom you want. You can also attach a report, okay? So I can save and close this. And now I have a business event that's tied to sales orders. So if we go back to there, to a sales order, we'll create a brand new one. We'll pick a customer, a couple letters there. And our notes pop up. We'll add a stock item to this. Maybe quantity 1, add and close. So we got a nice order here for $510. We'll go to financial settings, and again, we'll change this to prepay, right? Because we want this to await payment. Now, as soon as we've done that, under business events, again, you can see the new business event here. Under business events, we now have the ability to create a brand new email event. So obviously, this is a demo site, so I don't have my emails pushing out to an email server, but you can see our event has created this email. Sales order 5640 is requiring a payment. And if we open it up, it's, again, I didn't do much in this, but you can see it. You have a link to it. And now you have an immediate email that goes out from business events. Okay, so this combines the awaiting payment to the business event, which is now taken the place of automation notifications. Okay, so so one of the enhancements, additional enhancements, and again, 384 pages of release notes. So we're just scratching the surface on what's new in 2020 R2. But we want to talk about Commerce Edition. So for those of you who know about the Commerce Edition, that was released, I want to say, within the last year or so. Actually, I take that back, because originally Commerce Edition was it just included distribution, and they bundled in some e-commerce integration. But with the 2020 R1, Acumatica added BigCommerce integration right built into the platform. So if we take a look at that, you can see that here. And I don't have it set up, but you can see, you set up your connections. Everything is sitting Acumatica side. So the scheduler and everything works from here. But what Acumatica added for 2020 R2 is Shopify integration, which is working very, very well. We have actually, we're integrating it right now. It's brand new to 2020 R2, so we've been using it for actually a couple of months in beta, and it works great. It's even faster than the BigCommerce integration. And you have, again, this Shopify store integration with all the entities that Shopify supports. But let's jump over to our site. So here's a site that essentially was built from Acumatica because of our ability to integrate and push data back and forth. And you can see here a number of different items. There's products, there's certainly different categories. Forgive my site, it's not a pretty site. It's more of a demonstration site. But you can go in here, all the categories, all the items, the images, everything, the pricing, the default, and the MSRP and the pricing and everything comes through. And if we wanted to, we could go into an item, let's say, for example, this laptop, take a look at the information on it, right? So where did this come from? This came from, if I go into Acumatica, I can remove this business event because we don't need it anymore. It's a previous discussion. And we'll open up our stock items, and we'll look for our Acer laptop. We'll get a generic inquiry, a couple letters to search for, and it found it. And if we go to our attributes, first of all, you can see, excuse me, the image, right? So we go back, that's where the image came from, as many images as you want, or videos. And if I go back to stock item, you can see it's in this category, these categories. If I go to my e-commerce tab, you can see information here, maybe the meta keywords and descriptions. And if I go to my description tab, you can see the full description, and that again got pushed into our Shopify site. So let's buy this item. We'll view the cart. We could change the quantity if we want, no problem. We can check out. We get our panel here, which shows our information. Of course, this is Shopify. It gives us a nice view because we're logged in. We'll continue checking out. And we'll use our standard shipping method. Of course, anything you've configured there. We'll put in our credit card payment method. Okay, so again, I'll choose, I thought this was saved in here. So it's because I did a few before this discussion, but okay, we'll put a test credit card in again. And we'll put me in there. We'll put in an expiration date and a security code, and we'll pay now. So great. So Shopify, I think we've all probably, in our lifetime have all checked down on on an e-commerce page. Nothing new there. But we have an order number 1008. It's a laptop. There's two of them for $1,000. We're shipping it a certain way, right? So we have our delivery method here. And we can move on and continue shipping, right? So this is, again, forgive the homepage. It's not the great e-commerce. Don't look to me to make your e-commerce site pretty. I'm not the appropriate candidate for that, okay? So now, a few other things that Acumatica has changed. The first is Acumatica has changed the process for synchronization. So we now have a prepare and a process. If you've used import scenarios, you've seen that's very similar nomenclature that Acumatica uses. You got the sync history here. So sync history is a nice screen that shows you everything that's going on, okay? And you can see we put it into different buckets: pending and failed, synchronized, skipped. If we were to remove this and maybe look at customers, if there are any errors, you will see them here, nice and specific. I have some customers that I'm trying to bring in or put out, and Shopify doesn't support if it doesn't have a phone number. So you'll see everything nicely here, the number of times we've tried to push it out, okay? And if we look at synchronization, what has been synchronized, for example, you'll see that here, right? So you can see this 5639, that order is there. And if we go to sales orders and take a look, all right, one thing you can see here is this order's got a waiting payment. But if we scroll to the right, one of the things that's not here is our ability to see the order number for Shopify. So I plan to do this second. I already talked about generic inquiries, but we're going to go quickly and add this. So we're going to add under the results grid, under sales orders, we will add the reference number. So I'm just going to type a couple letters, by the way. That's a trick. I don't need to type the whole thing. So customer reference number. And I have my panel up here, my preview panel. So when I save this, I'll scroll to the right. Oh, it hasn't refreshed yet. Jumped the gun. And now I can see that here. So now if we get out of this and we view our inquiry screen, we can now see, if we move it over, we can now see that reference field. And you can make this, doesn't have to be called external reference. It could be called whatever you want it to be. So for example, Shopify reference number or something. So we have 1006. If we go back to prepare, and Acumatica also has the ability to push things in real time. But if we go into, for example, maybe sync our sales orders, and all of this can be scheduled. You got a scheduler here. So maybe you don't want things to come into real time, meaning the customer places the order and the order comes in real time. Maybe you don't want that. You can schedule it every 5 minutes, every hour, once a day. Okay. So we prepared this. And if we go to process, or we go to sync history, you'll see it there too. We can now see our orders right here that are outstanding. And if there's any issues, we're going to see those show up here. So there might be some challenges with some of your orders, particularly when you get things set up. You may see, for example, some orders that are missing some information, that are not quite mapped to get into Acumatica. Maybe there's a payment method or something along those lines. Prior to this discussion, I had an issue with returns. Acumatica supports returns, but I didn't have a return item code set up. Okay. And now if I go to sales orders and refresh, I can now see my orders that have come in, 5641 and 5642. And there's the one for $1,000. Open it up. And you can see the order information is here. This is the description. It came all into the description and everything. It's exactly what the customer asked for. If I go to, for example, payments, this must be a different order that didn't have a payment on it. If this is a payment method, but I can see the order quantity too. Now, if I ship this, because maybe this customer, it's on hold, but if I ship this, send it out the door, so we'll release it from hold. We'll create the shipment. We're doing this as a one-off. So those of you who are interested in the workflow to the warehouse, I'm doing a one-off. And if you're doing any quantity of orders, shipping any quantity of orders, you're probably not going to do it like I just did it. You're probably going to use a process screen to do a bunch of orders released to the warehouse at a time, that kind of thing, where you pick, pack, and ship. So under my ship settings, this is FedEx 1, right? But let's say we want to do this manually and we want to just simply pick a tracking number. We can put a tracking number in there, save it. And if we confirm the shipment, took my tracking number out there. All right, thank you for doing that. Correct the shipment. We'll do a FedEx here. FedEx overnight. Now keep in mind that Acumatica validates the weight of our item versus the box. So I say that in advance, just in case I run into a message that might come back from FedEx. I should trust the force. But here's our tracking number. And if we take a look at it, this is what it looks like, the FedEx tracking number, all great and everything. And if we go back to prepare data and we prepare our shipment, and again, all of this gets scheduled. It can get pushed out in real time. You don't have to do this like I'm doing it. But for the purposes of the demo, it's always nice to be able to get this forced through. I'll process all here, our shipment. Right, so successfully synchronized our order, our shipment. And if we go back to our products and I click on my account page, I can now see my order here. It's been fulfilled. It's updated in Shopify. If I click on it, I can see the tracking number right here. I can click track because it's tied to FedEx. And from a customer service standpoint, this is phenomenal because now your customers are getting real-time information. We were on a call, Justine and I were on a call with a customer that was raving about their integration with Acumatica, and in this case, BigCommerce. And they look around the industry, and for those of you who have any kind of e-commerce site, or you're tentative about doing it because you're afraid that it's going to cause a lot of work and you won't be able to fulfill orders quickly enough, or you won't be able to keep information updated on your e-commerce site. The rave of this customer, all of his competitors, they all have these old antiquated sites. They've jumped on, maybe it's BigCommerce, maybe it's Shopify, but they don't have an integrated system like Acumatica where things are seamlessly flowing back and forth in real time or in a synchronization schedule. Your ability to, and I'll go back to preface what I'm about to say, but your ability to look at, for example, entities and all these different entities here, and be able to sync all these pieces of the puzzle back and forth from your e-commerce site to Acumatica, or from Acumatica to your e-commerce site, is really a game changer for a lot of companies out there. It improves accuracy of what's on the commerce site. It allows people to buy the products that maybe you have in stock. Yes, we can track and hide items that aren't in stock if you want them to be hidden, or we can at least reflect them that it's going to be 3 to 5 days to get them. We can do all those kinds of Amazon type things that you see and that Amazon is known for. We can do a lot of those things, not all of them, but we can do a lot of those things. It really improves customer service. It gives people the outlet to buy things quickly and not to have to pick up the phone, and really keeps your accuracy of information on your shop out there, so that your customer service goes up, your revenue increases, and all that. Okay, well, thanks everybody. Really appreciate all your feedback. Really appreciate, more than anything, your attendance here. We know your day is busy. We really thank you for your trust in allowing you to, we're excited about 2020 R2, allowing us to share that with you. And again, as always, we pride ourselves on being ahead of the curve, knowing what's coming out. Our YouTube channel is evidence of that. We've been doing videos for, well, maybe 15 weeks, 14 weeks, as and when the features have been coming out. So appreciate and hope we have the opportunity to talk to you in person. After COVID has of course one day passed us, and hope everybody's staying safe throughout all this. And again, look forward to talking to you very soon.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks,
Enjoy
everybody.
the rest of your week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.